Hi, my name is Jeff and welcome back to my workshop. In today's video we're going to be working on DPM's Stone Bakery kit. This is an older DPM kit, but it's got some nice details like bay windows on the front as well as the storefront and a sign that protrudes from it, along with all the other kinds of details that you normally find on these DPM kits. Let's take a quick look at the components that are in the box and see what we need to do to get started on this. So we have the walls. That's one of the side walls. The storefront with the bay window. All windows and doors are already molded into the doors, so we'll have to paint those individually. There's the back wall, bag of details, also a bag with some dry transfer signs, blackout paper, and also in there's the clear acetate windows, including ones with preset shades on them. So those are all the components. There's the other side window, bag with some detail parts. There's chimneys, the front sign, and looks like some air conditioning units, fire escape parts, along with a roof panel. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to check all of these for any flash and remove that, and then get these painted with a base coat of primer. I'm going to do gray primer on the fronts of the building. On the insides, I'm going to paint them a grimy black. But I do want to test fit a couple of things, just see if anything needs, I'm going to have to be concerned about. The front looks like there's got a little bit of warping to it, so we'll have to make sure we brace that well during gluing and have everything locked in place well. We may have to do some filing and sanding when we put it together. But that'll be in part 2 of the video. We'll detail the walls and we may start assembling them. Depends on how long the videos go. May also end up in part 3 where we put the walls together. Okay, so let's get these out to the paint booth and paint them. So here they are, the windows. They're primed. I used Painter's Touch 2X gray primer on the outsides of the walls. Here's the can so you can see it. And for the insides of the walls and for the roof panel, I used Vallejo Hobby spray paint. Their Panzer Gray, which I find makes a great grimy black color. The black on the inside is mainly just to work as a light block, so that if I end up putting an interior and lights in here, it doesn't make the building glow. So I'm going to start with the brick, and I'm using a mixture of approximately 2 parts medium yellow, or 1 part medium yellow, 2 parts of burnt sienna that I'm mixing together. And I'm just using the sponge that I'm going to paint these with to mix them together. If there's a little bit of streaks in there, that's okay, because the variation in color on the bricks will give it a more realistic look. In fact, we're going to use some other brick colors as well on here eventually to make it look like there's a mixture of bricks in here. While some people I know will individually paint bricks, I don't have the patience for that or the steady enough hand. So I'm going to do some sponge painting to add color variety to it. From a distance, you're not going to be able to tell that it isn't individually colored bricks. You'll just see a variety of colors in there. So you already saw I did the one before I turned on the camera. I did the one side wall. This is the other side wall, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the back wall as well. For the front wall, the bricks on the front wall, we're going to use a different color. In many parts of the country, and particularly in Chicago, it's not unusual to see red brick on the front of the building and bricks made from local clay on the sides and backs. Chicago, it's either a tannish yellow like I did here, or it could be a pink, which is known as Chicago common brick. But I've never been able to get figure out a good color mix to match Chicago common brick. I'll have to get some good color photos and see if I can come up with something for that. In the meantime, on the front of the building, I'm just dabbing on a brick red craft paint onto the brick sections of the building in the same manner that I did the tan on the sides and back. I'm not worried that I got some on the parts of the bay window or on its roof or on the trim around the windows, because that'll all get brush painted later. Now I'm going to take some of that same brick red paint and remove most of it from the brush. So I'm going to kind of do a dry brushing technique and just kind of dab it on randomly along the wall, just to highlight a few of the bricks in different areas. And while the color contrast is pretty stark between them, once I add a control coat of India ink wash, which will be in a later step, that should all blend together nicely. I'm also going to use a little bit of terracotta paint to add another color option in there. And again, I'm going to dab most of it off so we get a light touch of it on here. And again, same sponge, so if there's some of the brick red and the yellow in there, it'll all kind of blend together. That's the back of the building. I'll do the same thing on the other two sides. And then on the front, I'm going to use the tan mix that was used on the sides and the back, as well as the terracotta to highlight the bricks on the front. With the front of the building, I do want a little more uniform, so I'm going to go very lightly on here. I don't want too much of the lighter colors on here. Just a little hint of it. Okay, now for the doors and windows, I've decided to use hunter green for the trim. And in the recesses of the doors, I'm going to use a more pale green color. We're going to start with the hunter green. I'll start with the window. I loaded up my brush, and I just kind of used the edge of the wall along the window as a guide. And I work from the corners out to get a good smooth paint. And you want to have your hand braced well on your brush so that you get a nice steady hand, and try and avoid missing your mark and getting paint on the walls. Of course, if you do, you can use a damp piece of paper towel to blot it up, and if you have to, you can always touch up the paint, the yellow and the tan mix, the brick color. You also want to make sure I catch the inside edge of those windows. For the doors, doing the same thing on the vertical and horizontal pieces. that go around and around those recessed panels. Those panels will be done in the lighter green rather, once the hunter green has dried. And I'm going to do the same thing for the freight door next to this one. And in the rest of the windows will get done, treated all the same way. Okay, so on the front, you can see I painted the green of the storefront, and around the bay windows, I left the recessed panels in the bay window, the doors, and below the windows. And for that, we're going to use our pale green color. And just use the rails and stiles of the door as a guide to get the paint on the recessed panel. If your brush slips a little, that's okay. If you can't wipe it off, we can always touch up the paint later as needed. By the way, I hope you're enjoying this video. If you are, or if you're learning something that you find useful, please make sure you hit that like button. It does help the YouTube algorithms. Also, please leave a comment if there's anything you'd like to see me do, or if you have suggestions on how you do things that may be a little different that work well for you. Please share them with me and with my viewers in the comments section below. And if you want to see part 2 of this video when it becomes available, please make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of my videos. So on the front, I'm going to do the same thing with the light green in the recessed panels below each section of the bay windows. Here you can see I got a little bit on the top, just wiped it off with my finger. I also did the doors and the little recesses below the storefront windows. For the window trim, I'm going to use crushed stone. All of these craft paints, by the way, are things that I was able to pick up at my local hobby craft store, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, that type of place. They all have these. Even Walmart and Target carry a lot of them. Many of these paints just cost $1 or $2 for one of these little bottles. So I'm doing the stone section above the windows, as well as the windowsill in the crushed stone. In addition, on the sides and back, I want to catch these end caps with the crushed stone. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video.